When the oncologist said stage 3 lymphoma, my world didn't just shake, it shattered. I was 37, a mechanic in Spokane. I lived for the hum of engines, the smell of grease-stained gloves, and the satisfying click of a torque wrench. My days were simple, filled with busted transmissions, oil changes, and the occasional miracle fix that made you feel like a wizard. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was solid, built with my own hands. I had a modest home, a loyal German shepherd named Diesel, and a wife, Vanessa. Or so I thought. Vanessa and I had been married for 9 years. Ours wasn't the kind of relationship they write songs about, but it was steady. We shared Sunday morning pancakes, grocery runs, and muted laughter at old sitcoms. The kind of life that, on the surface, looked comfortable. But hindsight is cruel. I now realize there were warning signs, missed date nights, her always being too tired to talk, the way she flinched when I mentioned the future. But I ignored them. I thought love was supposed to settle. I thought we were settled. Then came the diagnosis. It was a rainy Tuesday. The clouds hung low over Spokane like a wet blanket. I came home after the appointment, still stunned by the sterile words the doctor had said. Aggressive lymphoma, chemo, long road ahead. I sat her down at our kitchen table and told her everything. She didn't reach out, didn't cry, just stared at me with eyes colder than the rain outside. And then, in a tone so flat it barely registered as human, she said, "I can't do this." I didn't sign up to be a caretaker. That night, she packed a small bag, just the essentials, and said she needed time to clear her head. I stood there, numb, watching her walk out the door. The woman I thought I'd grow old with disappeared into the storm and never came back. But the emotional gut punch wasn't the worst of it. That was just the prelude. A week later, I went to the pharmacy to pick up my medication. The bill rang up higher than I expected, but I didn't flinch until my card got declined. Confused, I checked our bank account. Overdrawn. I thought it was a mistake. So I opened our joint account. Empty. Not low. Not missing a few hundred. Empty. Every cent was gone. Savings, too. Gone. Panic set in. I drove straight home, sweating, heart racing. I dug through our paperwork and noticed something even worse. The mortgage. It had been refinanced, and the deed was no longer in my name. She'd forged my signature, sold my rights, transferred the house to herself. And she didn't stop there. I found out through a friend, Tommy, an old buddy who drove by the house on his way to work, that someone else was living there now. A man. He'd seen Vanessa laughing in the driveway with him, sipping coffee. Same driveway I used to back into after long days under hoods. The same spot Diesel would greet me at with tail wags and muddy paws. The guy was some life coach named Dylan. I looked him up. One of those online gurus who sells abundance affirmations and manifestation ebooks. A guy who made his living telling people they weren't broken. They were just temporarily misaligned. She left me during the darkest chapter of my life for a TikTok philosopher with veneers. I spiraled hard. For days, I didn't get out of bed. The pain from the cancer was one thing, but this betrayal burrowed deeper than marrow. I stopped eating, stopped showering. I would have wasted away if it weren't for Diesel whining at my side, his nose nudging my hand like he was begging me to fight. It was my sister, Ellie, who finally dragged me out of the abyss. She's a trauma nurse and one of those people who doesn't take no for an answer. She came over, took one look at me, sunken eyes, bruises from missed IVs, paperwork scattered everywhere, and snapped into action. "You're not going down like this," she said. "We fight." And she brought back up Uncle Brian. Brian had always been a bit of a mystery in our family. Retired estate planner, sharp as a tack, and someone you absolutely did not want to cross. He didn't say much at first, just asked to see the documents. I handed over everything, bank statements, the forged mortgage, even some old emails. He skimmed through them in silence, then looked up at me with eyes that burned. "Let's bury them." That night, we got to work. Brian helped me file a fraud report and secure what little was left of my assets. He made calls to lawyers, accountants, even a few federal contacts. While Ellie helped me manage the physical pain of treatment, Brian went to war in the financial trenches. And then we found something none of us expected. Vanessa and Dylan weren't just greedy. They were professional scammers. This wasn't their first time. Using my military discharge papers and records, Vanessa had tried to reroute my disability checks. That triggered a flag in the system. Turns out, there were others. Other sick or vulnerable veterans in Washington and Idaho who'd experienced eerily similar sudden divorces, missing funds, and forged documents. Brian leaned on his old contacts, and quietly, we looped in the FBI. They opened an investigation. Behind closed doors, agents followed the paper trail. Vanessa's name showed up on 2 other forged title transfers, one in Boise, one in Tri-Cities. Dylan had received direct wire transfers from 3 separate ex-spouses of cancer patients or disabled vets. It wasn't just a personal tragedy anymore. It was federal. Meanwhile, I was in the fight of my life. Chemo was a beast. I lost my hair, my strength, my appetite. There were days I could barely sit up, but every time I felt myself slipping, I thought of Vanessa and that smug bastard lounging in my recliner, probably laughing at how easy it had been. I used that rage as fuel. 2 months later, it all came crashing down. FBI agents with state and local backup executed search warrants. They raided my house, my old house, right at dawn. Vanessa was arrested in her robe at the same kitchen table where she once told me she couldn't handle my diagnosis. This time, she was the one trembling. They cuffed her in front of Dylan. He tried to play the victim too, but the agents weren't buying it. There was too much evidence. Emails, financial transfers, forged documents, all traceable. Vanessa cried as they led her out. She wailed about how it got out of hand and that she just wanted a fresh start. She even had the audacity to call me from jail. I let it ring. In court, I sat behind the prosecution table, weak, bald, but standing. I watched her squirm as they laid it all out. Identity fraud, forgery, theft, financial elder abuse. Brian, through a legal loophole, qualified as a vulnerable adult and was added as a protected victim, and conspiracy to defraud the federal government. The jury didn't take long. She got 4 years. Dylan took a plea deal, 18 months and a ban from financial advising, or whatever pyramid scheme he was calling a career. Vanessa begged for leniency, cried about mental health, claimed she was manipulated. The judge didn't flinch. After the sentencing, I walked outside and sat on the courthouse steps with Ellie and Brian. Diesel, now my emotional support animal, rested his head on my lap. "You still mad?" Ellie asked gently. "No," I said after a pause. "I'm something better." "Free?" I nodded. These days, I'm not the same man I was before the diagnosis. Cancer changed me. Betrayal changed me even more. But I'm still here, still fighting, still fixing things. Only now, it's myself I'm rebuilding, one bolt at a time. The moment the investigators started digging deeper into the financial mess, his loyalty cracked like cheap glass. All that swagger he carried online, gone. Under pressure, he folded fast, testified against Vanessa and the others in a plea deal to save his own skin. He painted himself as just another pawn, coerced by her manipulative charm and promises of easy money. The judge didn't buy all of it, but the deal stuck. He got 18 months in a low-security federal facility. A slap on the wrist, maybe, but the fallout hit him harder than the sentence ever could. His TikTok account? Nuked by the platform. Sponsorships? Pulled overnight. No more free gear. No more ad deals. No more rise and grind motivational nonsense in front of rented Lamborghinis. The guy who once sold hustle mugs for $49.99 was now scrubbing floors and eating government-issued pudding cups. As for me, I didn't just survive. I thrived. 6 months after finishing chemo, the words I never thought I'd hear came through the doctor's mouth with a calm smile. "You're in remission." It hit me harder than the diagnosis. I sat there stunned, clutching the armrests of the chair, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. A part of me didn't believe it. Another part had been fighting so hard for so long that I forgot what it felt like to win. The VA came through too. They helped me get set up in a new place, not some dingy apartment or temporary housing. No, this was a home. A real one. Brand new siding, big kitchen, fenced yard. A 2-car garage with space for a lift. I could hear the echo of tools waiting to be used. It felt like a second chance, no, a third, maybe even fourth. And I took it. I started small, just rebuilding carburetors, refurbishing old bikes for neighbors. One turned into two, 2 into 5. Pretty soon, I was getting referrals and emails from folks who remembered my old custom shop. They didn't care about the cancer, or the divorce, or the scandal. They just wanted quality work. And I delivered. Ellie moved in for a while to help. Said she wanted to keep an eye on me, but really, I think we both needed it. After years of emotional distance, we rebuilt something stronger than I ever thought possible. We'd cook dinner together like when we were kids. She'd bring home groceries, I'd pretend to complain, and we'd laugh. Honest, belly-deep laughs. I even adopted another dog. A rescue, brindlecoat, one floppy ear. Named her Justice. Cheesy? Maybe, but fitting. She had that same fire I saw in myself. Scared, but still standing. Then one day, a letter showed up. No return address, just my name and a correctional facility stamp. I didn't even need to open it to know who it was from. Vanessa. It had been over a year since everything fell apart, since she emptied our joint account, ran off with Dylan, forged my signature, and left me at my lowest. Now she was behind bars for financial fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, and more. And now she wanted to talk. Her letter was written in that familiar cursive. Neat, precise, like nothing had ever gone wrong. I found God, she wrote. I'm truly sorry for what I did. I was lost. I let the wrong people in. I need closure. I just want to talk. One time. Please. I stared at the letter for a long time. My gut reaction? Toss it. Shred it. Burn it. I owed her nothing. But I remembered something my therapist had once said, not in some dramatic session, but in a quiet moment after I had mentioned how much I hated the word closure. Closure isn't always about forgiveness, she said. Sometimes it's about letting them see they no longer have power over you. Sometimes it's about standing in front of the wreckage and saying, you didn't win. So I made the call. Booked the visit. Not for her. For me. She looked different when I walked into that visitor's room. Older. Thinner. The orange jumpsuit hung off her like it didn't belong to her body. Her hair was chopped short, no trace of the styled curls she used to obsess over. Her nails were bare, her face hollow. And when she saw me, she broke. Tears, right away. Hands shaking as she reached out like I'd actually take them. I didn't. I sat, calm, quiet, steady. She apologized again. Talked about God, about redemption, about regret. She rambled on about how prison had changed her, how she'd cut ties with Dylan after he betrayed her, how she wanted to make amends. I let her talk. Then I spoke. Slowly. When you left me, I had just gotten the diagnosis. I hadn't even started treatment yet. You looked me in the eye and said you'd support me no matter what. Then 2 days later, the bank called. Everything was gone. Her eyes welled up again, but I kept going. I was broke, sick, and alone. You didn't just hurt me, you buried me. And I almost stayed buried. Then I reached into my jacket and pulled out a photo. It was me, Diesel, and Justice standing in front of the garage, smiling like idiots, holding a wrench and a tennis ball like trophies. A snapshot of peace, of life. I slid it across the table. She picked it up with trembling hands, studied it. Her mouth quivered. "That's your life now?" she whispered. I nodded. But then I said the one thing I came to say. "No, that's not just my life now. That's what you tried to destroy. That's what I rebuilt without you." I stood up and I walked out. No goodbye, no softening, just the sound of the door buzzing behind me and the weight lifting off my chest. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's not a punch in the face or a dramatic courtroom mic drop. It's not yelling, "I told you so," in the middle of a scandal. Sometimes it's living so well they have to sit in a 6x8 cell and watch you do it from behind bulletproof glass. It's smiling again. It's finding peace in places they never knew existed. It's waking up in a quiet house, hearing your dog snore, and realizing you don't miss the chaos. It's the sound of a wrench turning in your garage, the weight of metal in your hands, the grease under your nails, the hum of an engine you rebuilt from the ground up, because you know what it feels like to rebuild yourself the same way. I lost everything. Then I found more than I ever imagined. Love, family, purpose. Dylan's somewhere still trying to sell ebooks on success. Vanessa's got a cell, a Bible, and memories she can't outrun. Me? I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living. I'm rising from the ashes with a wrench in one hand and my dignity in the other.